The Associated Press is reporting a federal judge here in Wisconsin ruled the government cannot detain a UW-Madison graduate student or revoke their visa. This comes as at least 40 students throughout the UW systems have had their visas terminated. Many of the students that are losing their legal statuses are from India and China, which is more than half of the international college students nationwide. Some schools have told students to leave the country to avoid the risk of being detained or deported. Students have filed lawsuits in several states claiming they were denied their due process. At many colleges nationwide, officials learned that the immigration status of some students were terminated after staff checked a database managed by the Department of Homeland Security. UW-Madison sent a release today saying support for students experiencing CVIS terminations is being offered by UW-Madison in an individualized manner. We deeply value their presence and are concerned about actions that affected their ability to pursue educational opportunities at UW-Madison.